must always remember that we must influence the society to be in love, to be peaceful, to have tranquility. So it is very sad that in the 21st century, we are repatriating human beings, blacks, from modern slavery. And
the key word is modern slavery.
Yes. We are repatriating them from modern slavery. They work without rest. They are exploited. They work under blackmail because even their travel documents, once they arrive, they are confiscated. That is that amounts to blackmail. Okay, they are sold out both by government and by the persons who deliver them to those areas. So this all started way back. The first time I traveled to Dubai, in my own personal experience, was in 2015. And I had an opportunity to sleep in what they call bed space. I know what happens. I know that there are many people out there who have been lured to sell their property in the event that they were going to go for greener pastures. Because here, we have a challenge of human resource employment, both casual, manual, but also elite, white collar. So even in Dubai, you have those with degrees, you have those with masters, just like you have those who are here and they're riding border. So this is a group of people who really want to push and do everything to make life better.
Absolutely. And
the unfortunate part of it is that they pay a lot of money to go, over 10 million shillings, 4 million shillings, but there has not been a clear policy to assist them, even with the repatriation, despite the fact that only the UAE, I think we get over $1 billion US dollars in monies that come here from their output. So it is important that that sector, first of all, is streamlined. However, that there is policy of government, intergovernmental policy on that labor, because we are also assisting those people to get cheap labor. Because if you look at even the magnitude of the work these people are given as a task, it is not simple at all levels. So it is very unfortunate that under a regime that has been here for 36 years, it has precipitated the ongoing modern slavery.
Okay.
Because those in government are the architects of this. They exploit them even in terms of payment. Somebody is paid 3 million, and then the company that took you, or the agent, or the whatever, because of blackmail, you're susceptible to receiving about 1 million shillings.
And the rest of the money goes to the agency.
And this has not happened today. I don't know, but you must have been around when it happened, when Ugandans were going to Afghanistan and Iraq. Many of our brothers and sisters, when they came back, they only had those huge bodies of eating the American food, but their money had been fleeced. There is a whole case of Nyombi in America about the same. So we have had a bad heart of government that has precipitated its longevity and existence on blackmailing Ugandans with second-hand and modern slavery.
Now, moving away from that, just to get the figures right, how many Ugandans has the National Unity Platform assisted to return home from the United Arab Emirates?
In total? Last night, we brought in another batch of 18 came in, making the total to 153. When our president made a visit around those places, at the time, there were about 200 Ugandans stuck, but he did not move to all the detention centers.
Okay.
And when we talk of detention centers, these are places where you have been put. Some of them are equivalent to prison, because you are not allowed even to leave. But there are those where you are allowed to leave as you find ends meet. So at the end of the day, many of these kids just needed a return ticket. Just a return ticket. It is something we have even said. Now that you have an airline that is making losses, but Ugandans are footing those losses every day, because the Uganda Airlines, every day, its existence costs Uganda a loss of 1 billion shillings. Therefore, we were saying That is just enough for you to fly one way to Dubai, because you have one way to Dubai, and then repatriate in your one plane. If we did 3-4 routes, we would not have Ugandans there. When His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu went to Dubai, the plea was not only for Ugandans. The plea went across with the issue of Africa. The United Arab Emirates took upon itself, after they had done the waiver, to also process some of these people to come back. In fact, the government of Uganda has not put any bill or cost to repatriating Ugandans. They are only doing propaganda.
Really?
They are only doing propaganda. The last time Ambassador Chibedi went to that place, you remember, it's not long time ago, he was chased away because they didn't have tickets. And at that time, they had just gone to register those people. Then how would they fool you and the media? How gullible can Ugandans be then that they, after that short 2 days, they have done that magic? They were chased away from that hall, if you remember very well.
Yes.
Simply because they had not been up to the task. But they are very good at camouflage and marauding, and that is what they have been doing for the last 36 years, even when it is about life. Because some of these young people, thanks to Barbara Kyagulanyi, the wife to our president,
yes,
who has also given a whole in terms of mental strength. You are a lady, you know how much it means for a woman in terms of hygiene, in terms of existence,
absolutely,
when
yes,
she is confined in an area of a cell type. At least it's not about NUP, it's not about tribe. We have brought those from the west, we have brought those from the east, we have brought those from Busoga. It's not about even parties. These are human beings, and we are only seeking and indulging the people, the bandits who took our power, to at least respect those young people, because these young people range from the ages of about 18, because some of them have even gone younger, from the age of about 18 to the age of about 35. Mm-hmm. So this is a whole lot of a generation
of young people.
And when they're coming back, they're in total bad mental, physical health status. So we need even ourselves to find ways. And that's why what we did, our call was that of people power. You can do it, I can do it, everybody can do it. That's why we took on ourselves as to steer this as collective responsibility.
So still as National Unity Platform, and I'm glad that you mentioned the aspect of you, because according to the statements you've said, is that government did not put forth any shilling in the repatriation of Ugandans, and you're saying that what they're doing is basically propaganda. So help the viewer understand, because even among the tweets that we read earlier on, people were saying that a section of the public was saying that the National Unity Platform is looking for something more of a spotlight, but at the end of the day, what we are looking at is bringing our Ugandans home. So what sparked off this particular intervention? Was it something of social media, or did National Unity Platform go ahead and do a survey?
You see, elites have those of us who think we are elites. We are so gullible to our thinking. Why would one want to be in a spotlight of human beings being stuck out of their home? What gives the spotlight about that? These are facts. You have seen us bring buses to the headquarters in clear view. And these people, we are not planting them at the airport. They are arresting them for hours, interrogating them. These are things happening in broad daylight. The investigation started in August. Okay? When the Honorable Mwadanku Nyingi went to Dubai. This is on all those social media platforms. And they said that what we were saying was a lie. Government said what we were saying was a lie at the time. That we were only looking for spotlight. They did not intervene. When the Honorable Kyagulanyi went and it blew up in the UAE, That is when they started fidgeting with interventions. They don't even have a blueprint of how to go about it. And we're not going to be blackmailed from doing what is right. If Ugandans are having us in the spotlight for doing what is right, so be it. Why would they not have done? Because this would not, and it is not us doing it as NUP. That is where people get it wrong. We don't have the financial capacity to bring back all those Ugandans. We tried to use the talent of our president, to exploit, in fact, the talent of our president, to do a charity concert. It was stopped by government using a lot of taxpayers' money. Our first plea was to ask the members of government, the bandits who took this country, that at least repatriate these people. They refused. From August, processes started. Then, as I have said, we could not sit back as these people are dying out of their country. It is the definition of homesick. Can only be defined when you are in prison, my sister.
Well, I do
So, when somebody says that we want the spotlight, first of all, we are the spotlight. They don't even know we are the spotlight, because we have the torch of Ugandans, and the oppressed Ugandans at that. Where they are, we will be. We will not run away from our leadership that was given to us by the people. Wherever we can do something, we will do something. And let me tell you, we are being called everywhere because our leader bestows hope. You know that in Fort Portal, members of the National Resistance Movement are crying out to our president to intervene in the bad health status of this country. They are having bills of over 100,000 US dollars. Now, a councillor, to the broader picture, having a bill of over 100,000 US dollars in Fort Portal speaks to the decadence of this regime and where they have failed. What took the ambassador to that place where he was nearly stoned, if we are looking for spotlight? And if you listen to those young people, what were their responses to the ambassador? That they were tired of photo opportunities with those people because they had done it over and over again. We have responded with desire to have these people back. We have responded with requesting those that took our power to do what is needed. They have not done. We went for a charity show. All these were steps. If government really did not want us in the spotlight, there's nothing about why we would even want to be there. Let it just fly the Uganda Airlines to Dubai like Nigeria did, okay? And then sort that as a problem. It is not about us. And they should stop looking at humanity about NUP. That is why when we are murdered, it does not matter. That is why when we are tortured, it doesn't matter. And let me tell you, we are not afraid by the backstabbers of truth, because lies will always be lies.
Okay, so back to the conversation. Now that you've cleared the air and you have stated it categorically
we are the spotlight.
Well, now that you've stated it categorically clear, according to your findings, what is the root cause that is making Ugandans move from their home country to UAE? Because earlier last month, because today is the 1st of November, so last month, I saw a tweet of General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, and he was saying he doesn't understand why Ugandans leave Uganda to go to UAE in search for jobs, as though we do not have those jobs here. And I found that tweet quite insensitive, because then my question would be, how about we internalize and understand why a Ugandan would leave their home country to do a supermarket job in UAE that pays more and pays less here? So what is the cause? Is it the fact
you are
that
asking me a question of a person who's used to Cerelac as a baby? So I will not answer Cerelac baby questions. That gentleman, in circumstances of response,
okay,
I know for a fact, I don't know at what time that tweet was, but there is public knowledge,
okay,
that sometimes is not in charge of his own faculty. So I will rest it at that.
Okay, so moving on, some government officials have turned National Unity Platform's intervention as a show-off, and like I mentioned, cheap politics that government is already working on the matter. What are your thoughts on this?
They are late. They are late. We don't want to be in the media parading people. No, they are very late. Let them take their responsibility.
Okay.
Yeah, they're late. The reason we are talking about this, the reason you have invited me to talk about this, because they are human beings defined as Ugandans, citizens born here who are suffering. Okay? And that's what we are saying. We have seen laws here abrogated. During COVID lockdown, a plane flew in a family. A plane flew in a family because nobody wants to be stuck out of the country. During COVID, relatives of the first family traveled here because no one wants to be stuck. During COVID-19, government repatriated their own children who had gone for academics. No one wants to be stuck in a foreign country. So nobody's going to blackmail us about cheap politics. They are the cheap politics. Okay. We have not been defining ourselves as cheap politics. How? Do we look cheap politics? It is them, because they are desirous of fomenting and being vanguards of falsehood than acting with reality. These people that you have even shown on your own TV are a manifestation that there is a challenge. 153, that was a Costa. A Costa takes a minimum of 30. And a Matatu takes a minimum of 14. Now, if that is the standard, already those were about 30, 14, 14, 14. That was about 50-something people. Last night, 18 came in. Tomorrow, today, others are coming in. And they are passing through government processes. They are being interrogated for being bought tickets by the NUP. You know that. Now, why would I take a lot of time to answer such a question? Because it is the duty of, for me, when government begins to take a lot of time subjugating the facts that are on table, pitting them against the NUP. NUP is here to do things that people have not seen before.
Okay.
So it will always take them time and find escapism, because we are going to do a lot of things, including the formal mandate of removing their master.
Well, those are truly your sentiments. Now, according to the findings...
Not sentiments,
okay,
facts.
Okay, those are your facts,
Yeah.
sir. Well, according to the findings, what is the root cause of this issue? And in this regard, I'm talking about the repatriation. Is it in regard to the illegal labor export companies, or is it the harsh working conditions, or does it have anything to do with the synergy between the government of Uganda and UAE at large?
There's no synergy between the government of Uganda and the government of UAE, at least in terms of the citizenry, the involvement of the citizenry in both countries. Mm-hmm. Every citizen is independent of their own self. But the issue here is about policy. First of all, you look at the diagnosis. What's the problem? You will know that there are no jobs here. We have a brain drain. We have the greatest human resource in the world, having a young population, which is 80%. Therefore, Uganda has never been at a point of development transition than it is today, because you have the labor as a factor of production. And I'm telling you, in that, with the mobility of your labor, you have an excess of 80% in human resource. Now, the absenteeism of government policy and blueprint to answer the 21st challenge of such a population is the number one problem. Because the leaders of this country are not commensurate with the challenges of the 21st century. They are living in the 19th century. That is why things like the internet have a huge cost. And yet, all over the world, the internet has now been proven to be one of the essentials of life, because it helps in business growth, it helps in adhesive knowledge, it is a platform of learning, self-learning and reliability. But then here it has become very expensive and nearly banned, as you understand the defunct law of the former member of parliament, Kampala Central. You look at that whole culture in government response to the existent challenge as one that it has failed at. Because they have also tried to use the rudimentary methods of the 12 million per 12 group, the 12 million per a group of 12 young people. They have now marauded and camouflaged under the Paris development model. They have used Entandikwa thinking that they would be there. Simply did not have the right policy. And they will never have that formula. So it is a big challenge and it will continue to be. I can tell you, when the president of Kenya, the former president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, flew to London, he discussed for the elite of the medical personnel of Kenya. Where are ours? Where do they discuss this? It is up to Ugandans to fight for their own. So part of the challenge is that this regime has been so much enclaved with its existentiality than with services to the people. So it will continue to be a problem because they mind more about their longevity. They mind more about their blackmailed continuity. That is why you have a commander of the land forces, a person privy to intelligence, a person privy to security detail, questioning the public as to why. Because I have heard people call others less intelligent. But if you are in an office, you are the commander of the land forces. It means that you have privy to particular intelligence and information, not to anybody. And the issue of Ugandans who leave this country in hundreds per day should have been a security question. But it speaks to the ineptness of that gentleman. That is why it was hard for me to answer that baby Serela question. Because the people who are leading this country, they are only looking at how many years they are going to be in charge of it, no matter the mess they are leaving behind. The challenge is infrastructure here. We had, I can tell you, I grew up from Jinja. Jinja was an industrial town. It is no longer an industrial town. It was dilapidated. The factories were robbed up to the level of machinery. They are now warehouses. You know, the rail line was stolen to the level of even taking the line itself. So they have been working to the effect of making sure as a policy that Ugandans are poor.
Okay, Mr. Waisswa, back to the conversation. And now,
it is the real conversation.
Yes, but back to the conversation, looking at the repatriation of Ugandans in UAE. And among the concerns that a section of the public had is the concealment of their faces. And I know that you have already stated it categorically clear that the government of Uganda has done nothing when it comes to intervention of repatriations of Uganda in UAE. But these are concerns that Ugandans have because when the National Unity Platform repatriated Ugandans from UAE, their faces, and we saw some of the videos were airing on our screen on the PM edition, but also earlier on, their faces were being seen. But the category of Ugandans that were repatriated from UAE by the government, their faces were concealed. So what are your thoughts on that, the concealment of faces of returnees?
Well, we also have those that have, because being associating yourself in this process with the National Unity Platform has also been classified as a crime. Being repatriated by fellow Ugandans has now been classified as a crime. That is why some of them conceal their faces, especially at the National Unity Platform. However, we have many bold ones who are thankful that they are back home and are willing to share their sad stories. And I want to say thank you, all of you who have taken another bold step. They are tortured at the airport as they arrive, mentally, by subjecting them to interrogation. I know as a lawyer that yes, once somebody is coming from another area and is being deported, they are subject to interrogation. But these are a particular group of people that need a different touch. We ought to have had a counseling unit at the airport, if it was us fully now in charge of this country, to work on this process. These are only taking them through CID questioning, interrogation. Why have you been brought back by the NUP? Are you planning to burn down the town? All those funny questions. Now, for us, we are only so focused. Because I can tell you, if we're not steady and having formidable leadership, we would have backed out of this process, because we have still been humiliated instead of being thanked. But we know we face the wrath of the dictator as a people. It is us who face him. We know every day what it takes us through. The only beauty about it, we know how much we are going after him, and he knows how much we are at his back.
Mr. Waisswa, at the beginning of this conversation, you said some remarks that were quite fundamental, because what we are seeing right now, away from the political scene, is something that one would phrase as acts of humanity. So in your opinion, why has the repatriation of Ugandans in UAE moved from an act of kindness and now it is turning into a whole political issue?
Because Kyagulanyi is involved. You know that. Uganda's hope is involved against Uganda's hopeless. So the hopeless have the power and the magnanimity of propaganda. And that's what they're doing. But what they're doing, Ugandans will not even hear. I would only be here for roses. But I'm being put to task, because we are working with sinners. We are living with sinners.
Well, finally, as we wrap up the conversation, now that the National Unity Platform has helped young women and men who are stuck in UAE to return home, what is the National Unity Platform doing to help and support them while they stay home? What are some of the interventions?
It is not something we can even say that we can afford, because these are people who left Uganda in desire to make life better. These are people who sold their properties to go and find greener pastures. It was a lie. But what we are doing, we are lucky, as I said, that our First Lady, Barbara Itungo Kyagulanyi, is the CEO and founder of the Caring Hearts Uganda. She has taken away her time, and I want to thank her publicly for that, to engage these young girls, especially those who have been absorbed in an ugly mental state. I can tell you, there are some of these girls who have been sexually abused. There are some of them who have been tortured. It's bad stories. So I want to tell you that, and every Ugandan there, because we live, every family has this challenge. You just have not been critical, or you don't mind about that person in your family, him not being close or she. It must be our social responsibility to be our brothers and sisters keepers. That has been the foundation of our president's ideology in terms of humanity. We must love each other. As I said, for me, that is where I understand this coming from. Love. The spirit of love. The spirit of understanding humanity. It's not about politics. Yeah, I would have come here putting on a beret if I was coming here to do politics. But these are human beings, and these human beings are stuck.
And these human beings matter.
And they matter. They surely matter, and they surely should matter. So it is not, and what we are saying, by the way, and I can say it here, we want to end this process. If government wants the politics, let us say it is politics, to stop. Let them do us a favor. Let them do the right thing and ensure that all Ugandans are back home. Let them stop the blackmail and camouflage. Because surely, if they look at us, we are not the type that backs off by a mere phrases of a few inept individuals. We are not the type. We are the fighters. We are the rebels in suits. And we shall stop at nothing, but always be right to doing what is right for the oppressed people.
Okay, so finally, Mr. Waisswa, as we wrap up the conversation, in regard to the repatriations of Uganda and UAE, what recommendations would you give the government so that we do not see this issue happening again, where we have Ugandans stuck in UAE and living under disastrous conditions? Any recommendations towards the government?
You know, this government is not one you'll give recommendations, because they are organically muddle-headed. So I would not waste time. We have given these recommendations. Even the immediate interventions, they have failed. They cannot understand the long processes. And by the way, that is not in abuse of the officers who are in these offices of the labor at the ministry, but I am looking at the huge perspective of government policy. The benefactors of this fraud of this modern slavery are those members of government. That is why they keep that lacuna of not, one, exposing, but also fixing the challenges that we have. The last and the most we can do is have law, have policy, have synergies, like you said, with the UAE government. Make them understand that the existence of this cheap labor is very important. Why do we hear this about Ugandans? Why don't we hear this about Pakistanis? Why don't we hear this about Indians? Because I can tell you, Dubai is an open market. But the problem is that the government here has taken Ugandans as a second option, as second-hand citizens, especially those whom they don't think that they don't matter. I mean, they have flown out. They flew out Jacob Olania to the US for medical attention. They brought back, they chartered a plane to bring back the remains of the late General Eli Tumwini. They cannot, with our own plane that is making losses, send a plane to bring back stuck girls and Ugandans. That is absurd. That will go down in the history of this country, that under their leadership, our sisters faced that acrimony. We can never forgive them.
Okay, so Mr. Alex Waisswa, it's always a pleasure, talking to you this morning, but because time is not in our best interest, finally, in your final remarks, especially a message to the returnees, those that were repatriated from Uganda, from UAE to Uganda, what message do you have to tell them this morning?
I want to welcome you back home. It is tough here, but let's hustle it here. Let's join the struggle for freedom. You're not yet free, but freedom is coming. I want to thank our president for being formidable, for being firm, because even when they went against his brand of Bobby Wine, you stood firm to your leadership. That is why we have a lot of trust. That is why we have a lot of hope, like many other Ugandans, that you can surely deliver the change that is desirably desired in this country.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and CTV, for giving Ugandans an opportunity to air out their expressions.
Absolutely. Our role is to inform, educate, and entertain in the best way we can. Well, it's a pleasure sitting down with you this morning, and we do thank you for being a part of CTV Sunrise.
Humble, thank you.
Well, that wraps up the conversation that we had for you this morning on the Twitter Jabs. And today we were talking the repatriation of Ugandans in UAE. And I was joined by Mr. Alex Waisswa, and he is the National Unity Platform Deputy Spokesperson. Well, I do hope that you were able to pick a thing or two. But before I do say goodbye, at the end of the day, what we are looking at is we are looking at acts of kindness. Politics aside, this is a Ugandan, this could be you, this could be me. So even as the government comes out to, try and to repatriate Ugandans, and even as the National Unity Platform comes out in this act of kindness, you as an individual who is watching this morning, you could also reach out and in a way help these Ugandans that have been repatriated. Otherwise, we do thank you for being a part of the Twitter Jabs. Up next, we do have a special interview with the brand manager of the Sting Energy Drink, and that will be led by Agi Uwase. Keep watching Sunrise at Sea and don't blink.
Quality products, good in the biggest sale of the year. Download the Jumia app now.
You are still with us. For those that are just coming on board, welcome. This is Morning at NTV, and I'm Chris Higenyi. Let's now delve into our Kickstart discussion, repatriation of Ugandans in the UAE.